3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to Modern Metamorphoses. This is your co-host Dan Standing speaking, and with me is...
Hi, I'm Alex Fort, the other co-host.
The one who is going to completely show how out of my depth I am in all of this.
Me too.
Some of you may know that this is technically the third episode of Modern Metamorphoses, but our first podcast episode, and of course my first episode with the wonderful Mr. Fort here. I had 2 episodes of a web series that I had started doing called Modern Metamorphoses, where basically my entire pitch for this idea was that it's a look at comics, prose, movies, TV shows, and other media involving physical, mental alteration of characters or metahuman themes. I strive to be insightful, respectful, and inclusive, even though, adult material was sometimes going to be discussed. It wasn't the primary focus of it. It was meant to be an academic and all access look at transformation and modern media, how it's evolved from epic poetry in the ancient days to how transformation is used in its themes in our modern everyday media. Still today, it is pervasive. And, I decided after 2 video projects that were really satisfying, but A, took forever to do, and B, if you don't like how I'm sounding right now, if I'm sounding a little odd, it's only because I'm trying to think on my feet, but it's certainly better than the very wooden speaking that I was doing, reading off a script. So I'm hoping that this format will be better, and of course, it brings the wonderful Mr. Fort in here.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I know for a fact that a lot of times script reading is very easy to be stilted. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's good to give the context, like, what do you do? Like, what brought you into the transformation realm in the first place?
Well, for those who don't know who I am or familiar with me, yes, I am a writer of transformation, prose, and comics. I've been at this for a little over 10 years now. I started writing for the BE Story Club and then kind of broke off and went my own way. I've been writing the comics Held Within, TNA, Time and Again, Myth Trial for a while now, some of them into their 200th pages. And I'm also a prolific writer of transformation stories, either on my website or through Amazon or any of those other publications. But I've been doing this for a little while and feel like I really enjoy it. I enjoy exploring the themes of transformation. I really enjoy trying, as a writer, finding the challenge of writing experiences that in many cases are otherwise impossible to feel, and just felt like I wanted to begin sharing some insight into things based on that experience. And I met Mr. Fort here, who brings another level of interest to this subject matter.
That I do. Yeah, I went to school to study, I'm going to say, interesting sex and how it's portrayed. I got a bachelor's in psychology because I was super interested in helping people and also studying what makes people tick, which I think is what everyone does. They go into psych and they're like, I need to learn more about why people are. And then I went and worked in psych and I realized, oh, people are bonkers. I need to go back to school and instead of asking why, more so ask how. Because you can do everything you want from like a theoretical level, but you got to look at like how people do to really understand what they're doing. And so from there, I learned a lot about gender and sexuality, how it's been expressed and historically changes throughout all these times. And so, yeah, I eventually wrote a thesis documenting the lived experiences of people who have what we call fantasy fetishism. It's not necessarily it's not a why do people, get aroused by things like this, and more so just how do people live with it, right? So it's a matter of, well, let's talk to content creators. Let's see how they live their lives with this. It's not a matter of what gets them going. It's about what do they do with it. And so, yeah, here we are. We met at a con. It's exclusively about fantasy fetishism, and it's great.
Yeah, I was very lucky that we met each other at SciScon 2020 this year. I was thrilled. First of all, just with SciScon 2020, it was the first fetish or kink convention I've ever been to. But to meet...
Same.
Yeah. Just to meet other people who were interested in it, not just from the fetish aspect of it, but also from the like I was saying analytical, but the looking more at I don't know, how would you just describe that aspect of what we're here to do, really?
Yeah, SciScon was less of like, a big orgy, because you'd think that all these people who have a similar sexual interest would show up and they'd all be doing, whatever. It was not about debauchery. It wasn't a constant like, erotic festival. It was an exploration of the physical manifestation of an online community. It is the very, human interaction made manifest. And so everyone gets to kind of like see what they've been imagining, to actually have a full-on conversation, with like a lot of meaning with people they would never know. People from around the world show up, and not only to like sell what they're doing, but to actually like physically interact with something that they literally cannot. It's an exploration, like adventure. It's a social, I would say, interaction. I liked it a lot.
I did too, and as did my wife. We really had a great time of just...
I don't think there was a single person there who had a bad time.
Yes. It's great whenever you get to be somewhere that you get to see the manifestation, like people get to manifest who they truly are without reservation, and that's always just a wonderful thing. And that also brings the ability to talk and see, like any genre. And I think transformation, to kind of start to steer us towards the goal or the purpose of the podcast, is to look at transformation like any other genre, whether it be murder mystery or thriller or drama or comedy. I think there are things that when you find something that everybody agrees that they like, that you can look at and say, why is this?
Yeah, it's the fantastical.
Right. And when it comes to that, how that is captured in media, whether that be video, via movies or television or comic books or prose from the written aspect of it, I think something that I wanted to explore was, well, what is it that makes things that are good in this genre, that people enjoy, that are broadly considered, hey, look at this great touchstone, the great touch point to this genre, and explore, like, how back does that go? Do all of these things have overtly sexual fetishes, or is this transformation something that's found in things that are, not at all intended in that manner, and to talk about it and see if there are key pointers. And for me, one of the things that I know I'm going to be exploring, and we do have a particular subject to talk about in this episode. For me, those 3 pointers that I always look for are the cause, the process, and the impact. And I know I would like to explore those in different subjects moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Fort, did you have things that you were bringing for this, and particularly that you want to look at for each item that we explore?
The big thing I always bring to everything I explore is always the question of, why, how, for what purpose. I like to dig beyond like what is directly on the screen. I like to see what motivates people, and I like to dig in for like where that possibly could come from, to bring some of that beautiful theory I paid so much American and European money for to the average consumer.
One last thing I think I want to do before we jump into it is, as much as we'd like to think that there is pure analytical as much as everybody likes to think that there's a way to look at something purely analytically without bias, that is untrue.
Very untrue.
And to try and claim otherwise, is not only ignorant, but I think just putting a lie to anything we are about to do. So I know I just want to talk briefly, who am I? Who am I that, that I'm looking at this thing and giving my opinions and thoughts on it, and how could that aspect of who I am make me ignorant or blind or just my opinion from a particular view space. So as we go into this, it's good to have an honest conversation, and that starts from me saying, look, I am a nearly 40-year-old white, I'm cis male, I'm a middle class American, and I know that there's going to be, and I'm heterosexual. So I know these are all things that are going to impact how I view something, no matter how much I try and look at it from every possible angle. So, as we move forward, I just wanted to put that out there. So that's the perspective that I am coming from.
And fun fact, this is called standpoint epistemology in the textbooks.
Ooh.
That is the premise that you are limited by your own viewpoint, and who you are and how you're raised definitely affects what you are willing to look at and what kind of questions you ask. There's a whole fun term for that. And so my standpoint epistemology is that I am a 30-year-old raised middle class straight cis white man. And so we are going to have a whole lot of I'm going to say, relatively focused view and when it comes to intersectionality.
Yes.
But we will do our best. We're not trying to represent anything, but we will take a lot of things into consideration.
I do think you and I are both going to try and be aware of that, of who we are. But also, I think just to put some, just to feel like all that effort I had earlier trying to make a Gmail address for us was worth it. We want to hear other perspectives. We want to hear what you've got to say about the things that we bring up here. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there something we missed? Is there a reason why you think you should be a guest on a future podcast episode of Modern Metamorphoses? You can email modmetapodcast, that's MODMETA podcast, @gmail.com.
Yeah.
And, let us know what your thoughts are, and we will gladly read that.
If you have lots of questions, I love answering questions. Again, I have a very expensive piece of paper on my wall I like to justify spending on.
So, all right, I think we've done enough table setting. I know that I'm eager to get into the meat of this. If you've watched or listened to the first two YouTube web episodes of Modern Metamorphoses in the past, I have done Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Star, which is I believe it's a Hong Kong made film. And I also did an episode of The Collector that involves size and weight gain. I didn't want to repeat this first episode, but I think, and Fort, you could certainly sound in on this in some future time. I do think they're worth revisiting together in future episodes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're great subject matters, and certainly if you watch those 2 episodes online and have things that you'd like us to address in a future episode, that's a great thing to do. But I did also feel that since it's the first time that we're talking together on something, I kind of gave us a softball pitch. I think ahead of talking about it. So I pitched for this first episode the short 2006 film Mood Boobs. And
yep. Mood Boobs.
Mood Boobs. If you're listening to this, you probably know what this short film is. If you do not know, it is a film directed by Rolfe Kanefsky, who is, I don't know how much he wanted to become a connoisseur of transformation multimedia, but Rolfe Kanefsky is the director. He's also cited as the writer in the short film. And just to be upfront about all of this,
I think he knew what he was doing.
Oh, absolutely. And if you look at my film collection, I think about good 2% of it is Rolfe Kanefsky directed flicks. And there is certainly a pattern in the films that I own. He's also done a bunch of children's films, actually. So it's an interesting filmography. But I do want to say up front that
his IMDb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all
his
over the place.
IMDb is a trip.
So real quick though, before we get into it, I do feel like I have to say I was lucky enough at one time to somehow manage to message Mr. Kanefsky and actually get an email address from him, to which I was able to submit a script treatment for a thing. And that was over a year ago. I've never heard back from him. I want to say that is totally in the right because it was terrible. And that is
the treatment was the shoulder.
Sure. It was bad. It was one of those. Okay, so something you should know. Kind of getting started with me on projects. Every once in a while, I like to do what's called an impulse thing, and that's where I do things that I, like, hey, I'm going to message a Hollywood director and just see if he responds. Oh, crap, he's responded. Let me see if I can take advantage of this. And, yeah, didn't necessarily have the follow-through on that I needed. So, yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
So, but
I haven't contacted that person, but...
So, anyway, I wanted to put that forward. I don't think that I certainly do not feel like that's going to flavor my opinion on this, because he has made some great films that I absolutely love. He's made some I'm deciding whether or not in this exact moment I want to deal with censoring this audio or not. He has made some crappy films that I definitely don't like, all of which I think we'll eventually rotate through on if this becomes successful and we get some good episodes under our belts. But I love Mood Boobs. I'm just going to say that right now.
It's funny. It's funnier than I thought it would be.
It's not perfect, though. There's certainly moments in it that are not good, and it feels like it was a larger script cut down. There are certainly lines of dialogue that indicate prior revisions to the script. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's how about we quickly discuss what happens in Mood Boobs?
Yeah, we can do that very quickly. It's a 20-minute film. It can be summed up pretty quick along the lines of, do you want to do it or do you want me to do it? Because I can do it.
You can do it. I've talked a whole lot this episode.
Notes.
I'll let you do it.
All right. So the premise of Mood Boobs is that there is a woman who is tired of being the flat-chested woman that everyone looks over in regards to, sexual advances. She's calling one of her friends, I think an office coworker, and she's just like, I think that, this is like absurd. I think that, doctors are making women like multifunctional. Meanwhile, context, she is house sitting for this dude picking up his mail. In the mail, there's a box with a crystal. She's holding it in her hand, and she's like, you know what? Let's cough once for nipple extension. Let's clap twice for cup size increases. Talking about how women these days are just like, they're always big chested and all that. And then she eventually says, I wish I had something like that. The crystal glows. She gets it. It's a wish crystal. You found the catalyst.
Yes.
And the whole next 15 minutes are her exploring and learning about what just happened to her boobs. Because now she has mood boobs.
That was perfect. Thank you. Chef's kiss. Mwah. So let me be. It's not. I love Mood Boobs, but I know it is not good in many ways. But on the other hand, it's also the short film that I judge all other short transformation films on.
Yeah, it's got a lot of when you watch a lot of homemade movies, this certainly does not meet the same standard. It excels in a lot of areas. It's a very experienced script with a very low budget.
But it is by someone, and having seen a lot of work by Rolfe Kanefsky, from very early works that were Showtime videos to his most recent. Actually, I haven't watched his most recent one. I think the most recent film I watched of his was 2016.
Oh wow!
He knows how to film and edit a movie. There are some angles that you don't see in the more you don't see in some more home or low budget things, because people work with like fixed cameras and a lot of don't have a lot of videography in mind, or at least experience. And there are a lot of really great and fun camera angles, the way he films stuff that is unique in the short film transformation field, I would say.
Yeah, I'll agree that it very much plays out this, like the way that things are shot and the way the lighting is and playing with the setting. It all is pretty well done. Like when I watched it, I didn't realize it was done by someone who had 30 directing credits, 64 writing credits. Yeah, I'm pulling up the IMDb. He got exactly what he was looking for, but he probably got less than what he wanted.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I think, and I think you also said that you looked up some of the background on this short as well, is that I think somebody in the breast expansion fan community actually came to him because he had done, there's 2 series that he did for, I think it was Showtime, called Butterscotch and Click, and both of which are based on old Milo Manara comics, and both of which involve various transformation, mostly body change, but there's definitely a few that I'll want to visit later. So I think just as someone who had written and directed those, a fan in the community came to him, said, "Hey, I've got like $5,000 laying around. What could you do with that?" And this is the result of that. So it's.
Oh, I didn't find that story. That's great.
I don't remember. So my source for the video is off of There's Something Out There, like 20th anniversary DVD special, and there's a little he does like a little video chat before the short film, before Mood Boobs, in that, and I think that's where I got that tidbit from.
Interesting.
Yeah. But again,
yeah, I just went to Reddit and I saw one of the producers comments a lot on Reddit and was giving basically a little AMA, an informal AMA, and like the comment section of someone posting Mood Boobs to the breast expansion subreddit.
Cool. What any good tidbits from that?
Pretty much they were planning on doing another, but piracy killed it.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
I am proud to say that I own it on DVD, not the original print, but because it was a bonus feature on a different DVD.
Yep, that's pretty much. And so someone's like, well, I could try to support it with that. The director gets, Rolfe gets proceeds from that DVD sale, but no one else on the Mood Boobs crew does.
Ah.
Well, like the guy who did the music and sang the wonderful credits song.
Yes, I love that this is a short film about breast expansion that has a lounge song for its out credits or its end credits. That is,
yeah.
So this is one of the things that makes me love this film so much. It's everything about it has that weird touch of like, well, I've got the money, I'm going to do something professional with this that I can do because I know these people and I'm in this field that you don't see with other things. I also want to really quickly give a shout out to, I believe it's Shayna Fewell, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, who I believe plays the character who gets the Mood Boobs, and then it's Tiffany Shepis, who's been in a lot of stuff actually, including other Rolfe Kanefsky films, who plays the friend who comes over and air quotes helps her, and air quotes.
Yes.
They're
what about them? Is that the shout outs? Is that they're great actresses?
I honestly enjoy their performances in this. I think that for the material they're given and what it is that they've been asked to do, I think they both give a pretty good performance.
Yeah, because I can imagine looking at the script and just going, "This is just softcore. This is nothing but softcore porn." Like, I mean, I wonder if they went in there fully prepared to get naked. And then they like saw the script and it's like, oh, okay, so this is more of a comedy then. All right.
Yeah, and that's exactly
because like you got a guy who has like 20 directing and writing credits for like making Showtime porn, and he comes to you in 2006 like, okay, it's called Mood Boobs. There's no nipple in this? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I do feel like it's gonna be one of those hard sells at first. Like, how do you pitch that first? Well, again, though, I think he's outside of California, so it may not be, as you mentioned, the weirdest thing two actresses have ever been asked to do. And again, I know one of them.
Oh yeah,
one of them has been in. I believe it's Pretty Cool 2, which, wait, does that pre or post date this? Let me look that up real quick. Who may be the one who ends up with the mental command of having to orgasm when she hears the words in and stop orgasming when she hears the word out. That may have been Tiffany Shepis' character. That was 2007. So no, he definitely filmed this and was must have been like, hey, you want to be in a longer movie?
Yeah, there's something about his writing that, to me, because he started in porn and then he moved on to horror. And I can't help but feel like that this movie is either, some way of him, like, isn't this horrifying that this can happen to somebody's body, or isn't it arousing that this can happen to somebody's body? And maybe he's towing the line of both, but you can tell that that's his motivations in most film writing, and it shows.
Yeah, okay, so let me ask you this. I'm stacking the deck here a little bit. What else have you watched of Rolfe's?
Nothing.
Okay.
Wait, no, hang on. Probably Emmanuel in my teens.
Ooh, you know what? Emmanuel's one of the ones that I have not watched. I'm going to go through here. So, of the things on his IMDb page that I have watched, there's and actually own, There's Nothing Out There.
Yeah.
The Body Beautiful, which I believe goes as Ultimate Attraction, which is what I have it as. Other episodes from Click. Butterscotch Power Flower. Let's see here. Where's the other ones? Let's see here. Do Jekyll and Hyde. Pretty Cool 2. Nope, let's skip through all of the weird children's movies that he then did. To The Black Room, which is the most recent one that I have watched, and then Art of the Dead, which I own, I have on DVD. I even donated to the Indiegogo, but I have not watched it yet. So I can say that there is definitely a theme in his films of self-awareness.
He knows what he's doing.
He does. That's a weird phrase to say. He knows what it is that he's making. Let's say that. Because I think even if you look on the back of There's Something Out There, which is the movie that my copy of Mood Boobs came from the bonus disc of, it's supposedly like Scream before Scream, where there are a bunch of people stuck in a house, and yeah. So it's kind of what he started his career on, and then I really want to do Power Flower on here because that's involves a genie and more wishes, and that's my thing, and the whole thing is just one self-aware, just entirely self-aware bit. And even in like the Click movies I've seen, there's also this like weird self-awareness of it, which I definitely see in Mood Boobs, and is just the sort of, I know what I'm doing, this is ridiculous, and we're gonna put as serious a spin on it as we can. Everybody knows what they're doing. I think the actresses are chewing the scenery wonderfully. It's that I really enjoy that aspect of it. Some people don't like that, but I really like it. It's a thing that keeps bringing me back to explore some of his work.
It's a level of charm.
Charm's a good word for it.
Yeah, I think his work can be charming, if in a specific light.
I will say that one of the things that I enjoy or appreciate about the Click series, just to kind of skew over to that for real quick, and I think it says something about even this film to a little bit, is that, are you familiar with the Click comic?
If it's not the Adam Sandler one, no.
No, okay. So Milo Manara is an Italian artist, I believe he's Italian, who wrote a comic series called Click, and it's about a box and there's a woman who has basically something installed in her, and every time you click the button on the box, she becomes incredibly horny, for lack of being able to put it in a better term. So the Click series takes that concept, and it's basically a horny gun. Like, it's an orgasmotron to a little bit. You point it at someone, you push the button, they become aroused. One of the things that I appreciate, at least about the episodes that Rolfe wrote and directed, is that nobody ever has it used on them who then actually has a sexual relationship that isn't with the person. Like, it, even though it sounds like the ultimate inappropriate thing, he's written his stuff so that it is with consensual partners when that kind of stuff does happen.
Interesting.
And so that's yeah, and so that's, once I kind of realized that, like, I saw that, and again, I definitely see that in The Body Beautiful or Ultimate Attraction. That gave me a kind of different way of appreciating how he writes his stuff and what he's done and things, and Mood Boob, I feel like, fits in that. It's definitely played as fun, and particularly when the one friend is using her new power to change people's bodies on her friend, it's definitely meant in like we're having fun, this is playful way. Like, it doesn't feel predatory to me.
Yeah, it's not a sexual assault gun.
Right. Should I go ahead and start evaluating it through cause, process, impact?
Yeah, please, by all means. Yeah, I'm all ears on that, because you spoke about it. I remember we talked about it in the interview, and then like time passed, and then I was like, what? I tried Googling it, and I just like, I want to hear more about this process.
Sure. So when I write my stories, but also when I look at stories and try and figure out, why do I like these stories? What is it about them that I enjoy, so that I can, better improve my skills? Is that there's three aspects: cause, process, impact. And they're not unobvious as to what they are, but they each have their different flavors. And for me, when it comes to cause is not just, in this case, a wish, a magic gemstone. Magic is not just the cause here. It's that it's a wish gone wrong or unintended.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's one of the most fun things for me in anything is, somebody making a wish and it going either them inadvertently making a wish that they wouldn't have wished if they'd known that it was going to really happen, or making a wish and it happening in a way that was unexpected. It's one of the things that I really enjoy. It's sort of that, because a wish almost always is a greedy thing.
Yes.
And that's, the return, that karmic bounce back, that, of the twisted wish, is something that's always kind of interesting to see how it plays out. And so the cause is, for me, in Mood Boobs, the cause is fantastic. It's this, magic rock that, she's holding. She doesn't realize it's real or even what it is at the time. And also, can we pause for a moment? The box isn't even sealed.
Oh yeah, it's the prop department definitely just went to like a dollar store, like thrift market, and just was like, you know what? That's some quartz. Throw in a box, and the vendor gave them a box. They're like, yep, perfect.
Yeah, it is absolutely the box that it came from. And it's weird though, because the fact that it's so flimsy and not taped shut is actually like part of the plot. Like, that's how she ends up with the gem.
Yeah, she just like opens up this dude's mail. Yeah, or does the cat knock it on the floor?
She kind of tosses it onto the table, and it falls off the table. And for the love of God, I know that if this was a box that could pop open because it fell off, what is that, like a 4-foot table?
Oh yeah.
There's no way this thing made it through the postal service.
Right. Yeah. There's no way that it got picked up by a human being, thrown in a truck, put in a storage center, taken to another truck, possibly flown. Like this, that crystal would have been literally anywhere.
Yeah. Definitely creating, apparently, it's probably its own ridiculous, wish granting, circumstances. But it is an interesting story choice of like, okay, this is the first thing where I'm kind of like, okay, movie, I'm just buying into it. I really want this concept to work, and I'm just buying into this box, just flipping open so we can move forward with what we're all here for. We know this.
I hadn't even considered the fact that box is basically taken from like downtown and just like he bought it the same day. No, it was in the mail. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Oh, I've watched Mood Boobs more times than I probably should have. So, like I said, I love this film, but I've watched it so many times that I am well aware of the points of imperfection, let's say.
Yeah. Things that weren't imperfect, things I loved, that cat. That cat deserves an award.
Oh, I love the cat. Is it Callie? I think the cat's real name is Callie.
Yes. I wrote that down. The answer is yes.
What is it? They say never work with children or animals, but that cat's great. I actually think it is actually that is Rolfe's apartment, and it is Rolfe's cat.
Absolutely.
Also, fun fact, every single movie poster that is shown there except for one, I have I have the DVD of.
Oh, yeah, he used his movie posters?
Yes, those are all, I think we've mentioned The Body Beautiful or Ultimate Attraction. That's one of them. Both Pretty Cool and Pretty Cool 2 are up on there. And the only one I don't have is I think it's like Agent 0014. It's part of the Click series.
Interesting.
Or Balls of Thunder or whatever it is. Yeah, that's the one I don't have. But all the others I actually have. Did I mention I've watched a lot of Rolfe Kanefsky stuff?
I think it came up.
So, anyway, so for me it's a great cause. It's sort of a self-inflicted thing. It's magic, so we can kind of yada 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 away. Any other explanations. It's not the most detailed of things, but it's an old trope. I think it works good here. Do you have thoughts on that?
As for an old trope, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the wish has gone wrong has very long history. Especially like monkey paw wishes being as traditional as they are, co-opted by Western society. But I mean, even just early fairy tales are just someone idly wishing for something, and the Fae show up, and they're like, "Oh, you said what?"
Exactly. It is. It's a long tradition, and I think it works beautifully here.
Yes.
Next is process, and this is again another thing that I feel Mood Boobs actually touches on. We see multiple expansions, both of the nipples and the full mass. Trying to be
you can say the breast.
Respectful
breast
here in how I'm describing
term.
this. Yes, that's true. That's a technical term. The full breast grows, the nipple grows. We see it multiple times. I feel like the harness. I think there's one that's shared depending on the shot. That's pushed back and forth. I feel like the harness every once in a while. There's a curve that doesn't seem right, but overall, I feel like the mechanical effect is done pretty well.
There are two harnesses.
There are.
The producer said that there's a more rudimentary one that was put on the coworker because they were both in the same scene. They were both going through the transformation. There's a simpler one, and that's the one that kind of like misaligns a lot. And then there was a more advanced one for the main actress Tessa.
Okay, I don't know who they commissioned that from, but that thing worked, I think, pretty excellently. I think, again, it's an entirely clothed film. There is no nudity,
right?
But I honestly think the effect works very well when let's say the hero shots of the breast expansion is happening.
Yeah, there's clothes ripping, and that adds to the illusion.
Yes, and the button pop.
Yes.
Now, the other aspect of process is not, of course, just the visualization of it, but we also get the description of it. The main actress, she's asked, "How does it feel?" We don't get like a long monologue in depth of it, but it's very clear that it feels good. She kind of likes it, but she doesn't want to kind of admit that in as much as she does say this back and forth. But yeah, so I like the fact that not only do we have a physical process, but we get some firsthand discussion of how it feels for her when the expansions are happening.
Yeah, there's one thing that I really appreciate. It's a delineation that every single, even mildly erotic story has to make, and that is, are characters capable of feeling shame? And if so, is it consistent? And because you can get a lot of smut where a lot of people are like, as soon as things get hot enough, they just don't care anymore. and it's just like, hedonistic, like, free for all. And then you get the other side of it, the really reserved one, where like a lot of the we'll say enthusiasm comes from that repressed, like trying to fight the bodily urges, because like it feels good but they can't show it because there's still like that shame in it, and then as things escalate, that's like that growing tension that builds enthusiasm. And so this one, it remains kind of consistent, where she's like, it feels good, and I don't want to show it, and then it gets too much, and she can't hide it, but she doesn't want to show it, and that's consistency, and I can appreciate that.
Good. So I give it a high rank personally for process, and then the thing that I think falls short in almost all media, and Mood Boobs is short, so it doesn't get too much of this. But the thing that's important to me,
it falls short by default.
It just has no choice in the matter. It knows what it's giving us. It wants to give us the process for the most part. But one of the things that's important for me is impact. And there's a couple things that there's a couple things that matter for impact. So we have to first see, what is this person's life like before the transformation, and then stick around later than that moment of process is done to be like, okay, so what is the impact? What's the morning after? Is this something that even after the moment of passion is still wanted, is still appreciated, is regretted, is desired? What is the impact of this transformation? Because
this work doesn't give it enough time to even have a repercussion other than, I have work tomorrow, and like that's the big one, that she's it's very short term. We don't get to see long-term repercussions in any way.
No, not at all. Now, I will say though that part of impact is that we don't end on a reset button, and we don't fully. We do. The coworker does say that she's capable of changing those sizes with the snap of a finger. So it's possible that when they both finally leave that apartment, that they'll be back to something similar to their prior sizes, if not, maybe worked it out, and if they've wanted a little bit more, maybe given themselves that or not, we don't know. But I do like the fact that it's not a reset. It's not a, oh, we all forgot about it, or we all wished it away, or whatever. We are at least left with, well, something else can happen or come from this. We just don't see it in this case. So I am disappointed in the low impact, but again, it's not a reset, and it's just not the it's only got 20. It's only 19 minutes long. It only has so much time to do that and put in end credits and have time for a song.
Yeah. The implications of the end are almost stronger because she gets her wish in a way. The crystal only allows one wish per person. And so, like, she's like, hey, I need you to wish this away. And, her friend does, and that she is no longer, like, she is now less in control than she was before, which she didn't have any. But this friend is now more in control over anybody. She said she has the capacity to change bodies with the snap of her finger, not just her friend's body. And so she can do, like, there's so much room for a sequel of just this lady, or even just kind of, like, taking her mind palace to just like, this girl is like walking outside and just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I want to your body too. But it's never shown.
Yeah, we don't see it.
But there's like so much potential.
And this is the thing though, like, so I agree that there's a lot of potential there. And I'd like to go to my mind palace and be like, okay, so what happened? How did the rest of this day go? But as someone who is a content creator, I will say that a sequel to this would actually be a little... I would be curious as to what the sequel would be, because she's given herself basically infinite power over changing anybody, and as far as we know, up and down. Like, it's not like, oh, I gave myself the ability to make people grow, but oh no, I forgot to give myself the ability to make them smaller. Like, that's at least a limitation to it.
Right.
I would be concerned that a follow-up to this would struggle with, how do you now play this character who doesn't really have a limit? Like, what is the hurdle that she has to overcome now?
There is still a crystal, and there's a guy who needs to get home.
That's true.
Yeah, and there's a guy who had it for...
That's true. So what you're saying is
he got this for a reason, and now it's like, well, this reason has changed because now there is a, tyrant out there, playing God with people's bodies, and so maybe he takes it upon himself to do good, or to play along, or whatever.
Who knows?
Like, there's another factor.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, there is still the gem. So mood boobs. I don't think we've discussed whether we want to be like. I know, and so in the YouTube series, I was basically like, do I recommend that somebody own this for their collection, or is it something that can be, basically passed over for other better things? Do you have other thoughts on like how we would be like, hey, we think this was something worth your time or not? Like, what's our grading system?
My thoughts on it are as such, and that is, for young, budding expansion enthusiasts, this is perfect. It is the perfect cover because it is an extremely well done, like, short film that has lots of endearing qualities outside of the niche erotic element. But at the same time, that niche erotic element is pretty well done. And if that's what gets you going, then I, by all means, dig in. Because then if if your parents are like anyone else's parents and they like to come in without knocking, you can say, check out this short film. Look at the lighting, the cinematography. This is done by this guy who's done lots of these films. You have the ultimate backup. If you like watching films for, how films are done, great film to watch. If you are worried about it being intrinsically sexist, like misogynistic, or just kind of like lowbrow humor, that is also valid.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, let's not overlook the fact that
I think it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. Let's also. I know I've been very enthusiastic about loving this film, but I'm definitely loving this film from my viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
This is 100% a film written by somebody with my viewpoint.
Yes. This is very much, we are the audience for this film.
Yes, and if you are not the audience for this film, let's actually, let's look at it that way. We're kind of feeling our way through this a little bit. If you are not the audience for this film, I definitely don't think you're probably going to enjoy it, honestly.
I will counter that.
Okay.
By saying that there are many episodes of cartoons for teenagers, like the Lizzie McGuire cartoon had a scene very similar to this, where she went to prom and she was worried about having boobs that got out of control. Totally Spies covers elements like that. I'm going to bring up Totally Spies a lot.
Well, yeah.
Totally Spies, every episode is a different niche fetish. Like, that's absolutely a thing. But, like, there's lots of general populace entertainment that touches on these subject matters and does it with just the same level of, like, I'm going to say tastefulness. No nudity, no foul language. It's just like, the only reason this is not for general audiences is all the moaning. And that's because we as a society deem that moaning is inappropriate. Otherwise, it has been done time and time again in cartoons and, movies where like animated, like CGI movies. Like, there's always somewhere there's a plot point where there's a girl who's gonna, mature and butt into a woman, and suddenly it's too much.
I don't disagree with any of that, and I'm going to throw, I think Braceface also has an episode that also has the same aspect. But
correct, yeah.
I'm gonna ask this, and this is a question that I might not be able to even answer.
Oh.
Much of that, as you've mentioned, is like items for people who, let's say, how do I phrase this? I feel like these are characters. These two characters in this film are of the age where you'd want them to look beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look beyond that aspect of being defined by that. When you're going through
body envy.
Yeah, I mean, I realize nobody's ever really. That's maybe it's just everybody has that to some degree through life, and maybe this is also why I enjoy the fact
everyone
that
has an insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that that's part of the reason why I appreciate that it's this kind of offhand wish that she's not seriously making the switch. Like, we know what wish she'd seriously make. She wishes for $1 million. But,
Right.
but...
Because who wouldn't in 2006? The market was good.
Yeah, we're going to invest that money. Ugh. But, and my only question is if this, what is a good breast expansion short film not written by someone like us for someone like us? Like, what is a different audience that's gonna, what would that look like? And if you're intrinsically watching this and saying, well, it's insulting to me that this is a grown woman who, has at this point in her life still defined the fact that people aren't, attracted to her because her breasts aren't big enough, like, is that immediately going to be a thing where it's like, well, no, this is an insult, I can't watch this?
I would say that there is always going to be a population that is not okay with certain themes and narratives in media, no matter what. There's always going to be that. I would say for this, I don't think there's a large percentage of women who would be like, oh, her coworkers have bigger boobs and so they get guys, and this girl wants to feel attractive, and current norms indicate that, being busty is attractive. And so, like, because we can't deny that women have sex drives. We can't deny that they want to be attractive to men, and that these are things that are stereotypically attractive. It's like, we all want people who appreciate us for who we are, but we also want to be physically attractive and feel validated from that. I think a lot of people endure that. And so it's, if they're going to sit there and kind of deny that, yes, a man wrote a woman to get big boobs against her will, and, like, the way that it's shot is very much breast focused, I can see that concern. But to say that it's unfeasible because a woman wants bigger breasts is not fair. I
would like to agree.
Because it could have been about any part of a body.
Sure. I agree. I'm mostly trying to play devil's advocate on this, honestly.
Oh, of course.
But no, I mean, I agree. And again, I think as someone who has exposure to Rolfe's other works, I think that it's a playful video. It's certainly posing this as a ridiculous thing. Like, it's silly. It's not meant to be looked at from a psychological examination. What's that?
It's done for comedic effect.
Exactly. So I think
I wanted to interview the producer who's posting. He got back to me today saying, hey, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll reply. And I'm like, it's a bit late for that reply because I wanted these answers before we started this podcast.
Oh.
But one of the things I want to ask him is whether or not Rolfe, I want to know what Rolfe's kind of like attitude was during the production. Because I want to know if he's, making these films because he likes the idea of this as a catalyst, or if he's got more base motivations for making this kind of film. Because that definitely changes the context of, is this a comedy or is this porn? Because it can be both, but I want to know.
I agree that certainly, artist's intent is important. And I don't remember if his attitude, if I recall correctly from the short bit that he recorded on the There's Something Out There DVD, definitely seemed like, I can't believe that I was paid to do this. It's a silly thing that's on my resume now. But on the other hand, as someone who has seen both Pretty Cool and Pretty Cool 2, which I know were written and directed by him. I know there's some controversy, at least in the first Pretty Cool film, about the I think it was one of the producers, who basically wanted a harder core film, and Rolfe did a softcore one, which is the version that I have. But then there's a hardcore film to satisfy the
interesting
demands of the producer, or at least one that's a little more hardcore. I do feel like this is, like, if you like, I'm going to look at it like this. I think Rolfe is interested in transformation or, like, mental commands. But he treats it like, if you're going to do, like, a murder mystery, but, like, a comedy spoof murder mystery. Like, it can be a legitimate murder mystery. Like, there can still be a legitimate murder and a legitimate, like, finding of the murderer. But it's also kind of tongue-in-cheek, understands what it is, what the tropes are, and it's having fun with it. And I feel like, based on my experience with Rolfe's work, that is particularly what Mood Boobs is. I think he's definitely playing to that audience, but in a way that says, we know what this, we all know what this genre is. Let's have some fun with it.
So you're saying it's like a mix between Brooklyn Nine-Nine and SVU?
Yeah. I'd say that's not an incorrect way of thinking about it.
Yeah, because the body is there. It's very graphic, but it's also got the investigators like to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah. I think so. And you know what? I don't think we should do another Rolfe Kanefsky flick for the next episode. If we come back to this.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
I certainly would like to. I would like to revisit the other ones at some point. I think you can see that I'm enthusiastic, if not a little blundery, about his work.
Question.
Yes.
Have you seen The Erotic Misadventures of the Invisible Man?
I have not seen The Erotic Misadventures of the Invisible Man, if only because I am generally... I saw Hollow Man I've seen Hollow Man.
Oh, yeah.
And Hollow Man has
me too.
completely put me off of Invisible Man type things, so I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
Oh, I saw Kevin Bacon in the rough. That was right when I was like 14, 15.
I meant Erotic Misadventures of the Invisible Man. But you've also seen Hollow Man, so you know why I am
because Hollow Man was rapey?
Yes, because Hollow Man is rapey, and I don't know. I don't like it. So I'm fearful always of.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah. Which is weird, though, because actually, as I'm saying this, I love Butterscotch Power Flower, and that is absolutely an Invisible Man. So, honestly, I just realized that just because it doesn't say Invisible Man in the title doesn't mean there's not an Invisible Man in it. So, why do you ask?
So, then it's tone.
Yes, it's 100% tone.
So, because I was curious, because I wrote down The Erotic Misadventures of the Invisible Man as one of his credits, and I was like, have you seen it? Because I, want to look it up, but I also don't think Wikipedia could ever cover what this movie will be. Because, nothing screams, toying with two separate genres than, that story about the guy who's invisible and occasionally does crime? What if it was sexier?
Well, I can tell you, no, I haven't seen The Erotic Misadventures of the Invisible Man, but I have seen Butterscotch Power Flower, which, it's weird because I clearly have not seen whatever film comes before this. It's from the Showtime series. But it is Butterscotch Power Flower is interesting because it's another one of those where it's like nobody has sexual relationships with each other who doesn't both want to do it, including the Invisible Man stuff. Like, he has a girlfriend. He is never disloyal to his girlfriend unless there's one circumstance where he's controlled by the genie, but outside of that, he's never disloyal to her, never, they're in a monogamous relationship and they both say it multiple times. It's interesting. So I'm curious as to if that sort of, whether or not that comes into Erotic Misadventures of the Invisible Man or not.
Yeah, I want to see. I want to see it, but I also don't want to see it. I don't know.
It's one of those things where, okay, so here's the deal, though. I've also seen The Black Room, which is the 2006 Rolfe Kanefsky thing, which I don't like because, oh boy, is there some bad stuff in The Black Room.
Is it a horror movie?
It is a horror movie.
Okay.
It's a horror movie. There's no way around that. There's some interesting bits to it, though, that made me want to buy it and own it, because there's a bit where this one character, her front breasts, and that's the phrase is going to make sense in a moment, her front breasts get shrunken away, and then she grows another set behind her.
On her back or on her butt?
On her back.
Okay.
So there's scenes like that in it that made me be like, oh, I kind of, want to see more of this film. But then there are moments in it that are way beyond my comfort with, things that happen in films, to the point where,
So it's a So it's a different take on like transformation in that it's body horror as opposed to just the exemplification of what already is there.
Yes, I would say that that's probably a fair assessment of it. So maybe one day I'll pitch it as a subject for us to tackle. But it's honestly, when I was doing the video series, I was trying to like hit a different thing from every genre. So I had done a television episode, I had done a comedy movie, and I was like, I want to do a horror movie. And it's honestly one of the ones I had picked, The Black Room. It is one of the ones that I was like, man, I just can't do this. Like, it is not, I cannot video edit this. And stalled me for so long.
Well, we can talk about it. I'll try anything twice, but if you want to cover horror, I'll take a look at it, because I can do that separation, and then we can sit there and just like for a whole hour just be like, but you gotta see it though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, horror, it's a genre that, there's entire Roku channels, dedicated to horror. So, it is a thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's Blumhouse has, a whole channel of just their dime a dozen, almost Twilight Zone movies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So
yes, we are.
Mood Boobs. Any final thoughts on Mood Boobs?
I recommend that no matter what your tastes are, you watch it once. Because again, worst case scenario, waste 20 minutes of your life. Yeah, it's got charm. It's got a professional's touch in the aesthetic of like if I picked up a camera. Everyone in it is extremely talented. It just looks grainy, and I still remember it fondly from when I found it on Daily Motion at the age of 15.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember how old I was.
Well, if you're like 40-ish, that would put you in your 20s.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that would be. Sorry, I don't always math very good. But yeah, no, I mean, I know that part of this is nostalgia for a thing that certainly helped cement my interest in the subject matter. It's a fun little film, in my opinion. Again, it's short. If you're wondering to yourself, hey, this is something that I might be interested in, but I would like something with slightly more production value than what I can generally find online nowadays, let's go check out Mood Boobs, and definitely do it.
And good acting.
Yeah, that's the thing. Honestly, if for no other reason, if you want to see how breast expansion can be handled with good professional actors, the Mood Boob is the place to do it. It's honestly the purest, purest form of the breast expansion short, with the best performances I can recommend.
And a cat.
Yeah. Do love the cat.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, yeah. So at this point, if we, I think I do podcasts because they're a fun thing to do for fun.
Good.
I will say that at some point we might have a sponsor if we're lucky.
Ooh.
I think I would certainly prefer it to be. I don't want to be up here talking about Raid whatever on the iPhone, or how wonderful the Blue Apron boxes are. Like, I think when we'd like to do sponsors that are actually relevant to the theme of modern metamorphoses. If you've got a transformation, if you do short films, or if you have a Patreon, or if you've got a book to sell that's a transformation theme, you're the people that we want, to advertise on here. So, we don't have a process quite yet, but if you're interested, modmetapodcast@gmail.com, we can sort something out. I know I wanted to be more prepared, and maybe I'll cut in with a better preparation in post, but I think as someone who has a Patreon, patreon.com/DSREDUX, DS Redux, personal plug there, I know that there aren't a lot of ways that I know to advertise what I do and to get that word out. So, let's see if we can make this a place for people in the transformation field, whether it's adult material or PG, G rated. It's, just something for, the those of us who enjoy the genre and its various kind and format.
There's lots of ways it can present itself, and we have to approach things with an open mind. Not so open that our brains fall out, but just in the sense of just kind of like, if you have questions, never hurts to pursue it. One thing I can say we can give the shout out to this time for, just because it's the way that we fostered this friendship, I will always shout out to SizeCon and its wonderful staff for putting on an amazing event of no judgment and freedom of expression without being distasteful.
I 100% agree. I think you can learn more at sizecon.com, and right, it is sizecon.com. They didn't actually pay us or ask us to say this, so I have no prepared remarks. That's how we met. That's how I met a number of wonderful people who I'd only ever known by their screen name or their pen name. And I know we don't know yet when the next one's going to be, but if it's a thing that you are capable of attending, I 100% recommend it. I know Amber and I are definitely going to be there, presuming that conventions are still a thing that we do as American people, whenever next that comes around. Yeah, I know.
We better. If this is still a global pandemic in a year, I will be furious as a public health person.
And oh God, yeah, no. I hope for your sake, yes, and also as someone who's already paid for their Joko Cruise 2021, not fully, but certainly bought tickets already.
Oh my God.
Definitely want that to be resolved by this time next year.
Yeah, I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I will say this is applicable information any time of the year from your resident public health educator. Wash your hands. If you haven't washed your hands, don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. This counts for anything. This is not just COVID-19. This will keep you safe during flu season. This will keep you safe, if you find out that the Buffalo Wild Wings you're eating at has Hep A. Just wash your hands. Don't touch your face. And when you hug people, make sure it's someone you trust. Super simple. Super easy. Do it all the time, and I guarantee you'll get sick less, because that's a trick I learned at cons, and I haven't gotten sick from a con in years.
And I think that's great advice, and thank you.
Yeah.
And I could take it from no one better. I will say, okay, so here's the deal. I am one of the last people to have gone on a cruise in 2020, Joko Cruise, and man, I got to give it to Holland America. They had people stationed at all four corners of the food court. They were forcing you to clean your hands before you went in, whether you were just going around the corner, anywhere. And to my knowledge, there was no COVID-19 spread on Joko Cruise as of March 23rd. So yes,
I didn't hear anything about it, which is astounding.
Yeah, to have gone through that so far. Again, I know Amber and I are still what we consider our quarantine period, because although we finished Joko Cruise a little bit ago, we stayed in Fort Lauderdale and went to the Rec Bar, which has got a mermaid show and an underwater burlesque. So we went to see that. So we were in Fort Lauderdale for a few days, so we're giving ourselves some extra quarantine time. But Joko Cruise was all about the hand washing and no face touching and everything. So
as they should be.
Absolutely.
Cruises are terrifying from a health standard.
I know. It's always a risk, even without COVID-19. But it seems to have been successful. So hopefully cruises will be a thing again soon. But anyway, so that's our bit. Do you have anything personally you want to plug? I've plugged my Patreon, and I'll also plug transformium.com, where you can read some of my stories and comics. Do you have anything personal to plug right now?
The only personal thing I have to plug right now, I have two things. One, you can read my thesis. It is called Sex and the Impossible at the University of Amsterdam's library. It's actually posted online. You can just Google that. It should pop up. If not, you can just email our email address, and I'll send you a link. And the only other thing I can state is that I am doing reading. I am actually trying to add some culture to everyone's time as they're quarantined. So I'll be reading on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/The Fort Is Real. And right now I'm doing World War Z, and I'm going to try to do it about an hour a day so I can read a book and also give people something to listen to so they don't feel so lonely every day.
That's very cool. That's very, very cool. I look forward to trying to tune into that. And do you have a particular time that you're doing it, or is it just whenever it gets posted up on your Twitch?
Oh, it is. I'm trying to do it every day at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that'll be after I get done with eating. So I'll be nice and bloated, and it'll just be bad.
Nice. Cool. Well, I will try and tune into that. 6 o'clock is when I start making dinner, so I'll try and remember that. Also, I will try and read your thesis, because I missed you speaking about it at SciCon, and I have not had a chance to do that. I went into this presuming that it was good, so I guess we'll find out.
I've heard many times that it's pretty decent, and then the one of the negative reviews I've heard is the fact that somebody was like, you quoted Rule 34 in your academic paper. This is garbage. And I told him to stop being an elitist dick. I cited it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Although I will say that comes from a person who, on one of his major philosophy kind of, what the heck? That wasn't a thesis because I don't have a doctorate or anything, but whatever. My bachelor's final paper quoted BobandGeorgeTheComic.com. And actually did not just quote it. I definitely took up some page space by just inserting the entire comic strip into multiple pages. So I definitely don't see any problem with you quoting Rule 34.
I mean,
but again,
if they just kept going, they'd get to the bottom where in the appendix I formally define what a futanari is. So, I mean, if you're going to draw, any kind of conclusions on my character, futanari is now academically recognized.
Interesting.
And published by a university in Europe.
Nice. But is it peer reviewed?
I have 2 supervisors.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the peer review is more so the people who are higher standing than me read it, they saw it, they were interested, and they said, yeah, this is good. This is good enough to represent our university, and then it's published.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, anyway, I look forward to reading it.
Yeah. Oh, good. I please let me know what you think. It's been a few years, but I'm still very proud of it.
Well, good. All right. So, wrapping up this last portion of the podcast, and again, it's episode 1. We may change everything. I think if we've talked to any podcaster, everybody hates their first 3 to 5 episodes, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But the last thing is that we just wanted to touch bases on a couple small things, anything that maybe caught our interest, that maybe isn't something we could dedicate an entire episode to, or is not something we could really share as we are remotely. We're not that far from each other, but a couple states.
Well, right now in this quarantine, we are impossibly far apart.
That's very true. Is there anything transformation related that has caught your interest lately that you have your eye on that people right now could maybe go out and check out, or just amusing to share?
You know what? Ironically, no. If anything, the most transformation stuff I've been dealing with right now is just chatting with all my friends I met at SciCon and talking with them about why they went. That's probably the most I got going on, and nobody else can really join in on that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna throw one at you here. One of the things that I'm experimenting with Modern Metamorphoses is the Modern Metamorphoses book club, where I pick a book amongst my collection, and my collection I call the Transformium. It's got all sorts of transformation items in it, and I have 3 books here right next to me. It's 3 because I cannot find my God's Behaving Badly book, so it's not 4. It's 3 because I do not know where that has gotten off to, and I would like to start reading one of these and maybe have people read along a little bit. I can give maybe my opinion on these if it's something that sounds like interests you for it. Maybe not to read on Twitch, but just to read. Although all of these all of these are major publications right here, but they're all transformation themed in one way or another across the board. And I am going to let you determine which I'm going to start reading.
All right, cool. I love judging books by covers.
Yes. Oh, and they're all great covers, actually, but only I can see them. I'll post something somewhere of them. But we're going to go through real quick here. The first book I've got in my hand here is Bored Stiff by Pierce Anthony.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Pierce Anthony's work?
It sounds familiar.
Pierce Anthony writes a series called the Xanth series. That's Xanth.
That does sound familiar.
He's not for everybody. He started out with A Spell for Chameleon, which there's no way around it. It is a misogynistic book. It just is. I will say the power of puns gets me through it. It is an entirely weird fantasy series that's entirely pun based. The best example I can give you is that centipedes are dangerous, nickelpedes are 5 times as dangerous. That is the basic attitude of the series. But I have a more recent book here. He's been going at it for at least a decade, if not 2, maybe even 3 at this point. This is called Bored Stiff, Board Stiff.
Oh.
And the concept of it is that a young woman is at a wishing well, and she makes an errant wish about how she's bored stiff, and gets turned into a board of wood.
Oh.
Because her mind had a typo.
Interesting.
Yes, and it's the adventures of her as a piece of wood, alongside somebody else. I don't know who it is that's actually basically carrying her through the adventure. But that's the basic concept of Bored Stiff. So we have transformation right off the bat there. I think that's literally like page 2 that happens in. So there's that.
This sounds almost like Terry Pratchett.
I will definitely put Terry Pratchett as a in his own league. But yes, it is. He is certainly chasing Terry Pratchett's vibe, I would say. So there's Bored Stiff.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So there's Bored Stiff by Pierce Anthony. Then I have a book here that I learned about on Joko Cruise, and I'm unironically interested in reading this. I am so legitimately enthusiastically interested in reading this. Dr. Sidney McElroy and Jean Grey basically hyped it while they were there. They read selections from it. I'm very excited to read this at some point. It is Model Land by Tyra Banks.
Oh.
It is how many pages is this? It is a 560-some hardcover novel. It is a fantasy novel. It is about a world wherein every year or so, I think it is, a selection of young women are chosen to become basically superstars, belladonnas in some fashion. It is this interesting
models
mix. Yeah, models. But it's an interesting mix of like of Harry Potter and modeling and even Star Wars a little bit, as far as I can tell, because like if you graduate as a belladonna or a bellatrix or however it is in here, because there's a lot of interesting language that Tyra has invented. If you graduate as one of them, you get a superpower, which can be from teleporting to just reaching the age of 39 and then resetting back down to, at like 17 or 18 to age back up to 39 again and then reset. Or, and there are passages in this where people's faces like open up and change, and there's all sorts of stuff in this book that Dr. McElroy and Jean Grey were talking about. So I'm very interested in reading this, actually. I can't say I would have thought to before Joko Cruise.
Yeah, I don't think I would have ever read a Tyra Banks book.
No, I can't say that it would have occurred to me, but after hearing them talk about it and what they read from it, I'm legitimately excited about that. And finally, my third option here is The Blue Djinn of Babylon. It's actually book 2 of the Children of the Lamp series, and before you ask, no, I have not read book 1. It is by P.B. Care, and it's about a family of genies. And honestly, the reason that I've picked it up is because I know near the end of the book, a woman gets turned into a cat. And I think if we're going to talk impact, that is permanent and it's never undone. So I'm very interested to see what brings us to that moment.
All right.
So, yeah, those are the 3 books. So, which one do you think I should read for Mod Meta Book Club?
The one that you're actually really enthused about, obviously. Yeah, the Tyra Banks one, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, like, start strong. We can hit that the more niche ones on a later day, because I can't imagine there's going to be too many high-rise selections for the next, year and a half.
No, maybe not. Okay, cool. Well, then my goal will be, and I say this not knowing really how fast I'm going to read this or when next the episode's going to go, but I'm going to at least read 5 chapters, and we'll see where I go. So, yes, so if anybody wants to read along, it is Model Land, one word, by Tyra Banks. I unironically recommend reading this, at least from hearsay.
Yeah, go to your local library when you can, and
yes,
and take a look. I mean, I think a library would have a Tyra Banks book. If nothing else, you can request it.
I imagine it must be there.
Well,
it has to be there. I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
Let me assure you, there are some things I thought a library would have that they don't, like the Doom novels.
Wait, what?
Because
Doom?
they made novelizations of the... No, Doom, like the video game about shooting demons.
Oh!
Okay. There are 4 novels based on that series, and my library does not have them, and it is tragic.
That's unacceptable. Do your taxes go towards that?
Because I want to desperately read them, because I want to know how bad they are. I read the Mortal Kombat book. Yeah, there's a book.
Nice.
And that was terrible.
And I love the first Mortal Kombat movie. It's not good, but I love it.
Oh, the first movie was so much better than the second. We could spend all day talking about the Mortal Kombat movies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's actually not get away from ourselves, because if you haven't noticed, I believe those are on my video account. So you can watch those whenever you want.
Yes, they are, because they involve transformation.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah. We could talk about that next time.
I'm up for that. Do you want to call it now? Do you want to do... Well, I think Mortal Kombat 2's got more in it than the first one, honestly. But,
yeah.
Do you want to call it now? Next recording subject matter?
I've never said this sentence in my life. But how about we watch Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation for fun and science?
That sounds like a plan. We will watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation for fun and science. So, for the sake of fun and science, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. If you're watching at home, go watch Mood Boobs, watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and whenever the hell we decide to do another one of these, to tune in to Modern Metamorphoses.
Yeah. Tune in, and it should be a month. I feel like a month is safe.
I feel like a month's good. Yeah, a month's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe things have gotten better.
Oh, Lord, I hope so.
Mortal Kombat hasn't.
No, Mortal Kombat is definitely not. Yes. Okay, man.
So we'll catch you next time on Modern Metamorphoses.
Mm-hmm. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, goodbye. Wash your hands.
Hey, so...
I got a big spike, you got a big spike.
I got a big spike. Let's get this going. So, give me 5 seconds of silence here, I guess, and I'll try and think of an introduction I should have thought of already.
All right.